We had a good question on one of our YouTube videos recently on the squat, and the question was, should I be using my quads on the way up? Should I be feeling my quads when I squat? And this really boils down to more of a basic question, more of an all-encompassing question on all of the lifts, even than that. And that is, should I be cueing, should I be thinking about my muscles when I am performing a lift? Been meaning to do a video or an article on this for a while. I don't think this will quite be a 2-minute tactic, but hopefully we'll keep it short. Maybe it'll be a longer one some other day. The short version is no. We cue movements. We think about movements. We don't cue muscle groups, all right? Let's think about this. You can think about this real simply if you think about shooting a basketball, right? You do not cue muscle groups when you're shooting a basketball. That would be preposterous, right? You're on your way up, you're getting ready to shoot your, take your shot, and you're like glutes, hamstrings, quads, gastroc, wrist flexion. Oh, shoot, I forgot about my soleus, right? This is preposterous. There's too many things going on. Don't think about individual muscle groups. When you do that, you will slow the whole thing down. You will make it significantly harder. Cue movements, we train movements. The muscles, quote unquote, come along for the ride in a manner of speaking, all right? So if you get the movement, the muscle will have to be doing its job, all right? So you think about the quads in the squat, for instance. We cue drive the hips up when you squat, all right? Well, if you're in the bottom of a squat and you drive your hips up, what has to have happened? Your knees have to straighten, which means your quads are doing their job because the quads do the job of knee extension. So if you're driving your hips up, you're getting a whole lot of things going on that are correct. You've already got your back locked in extension, so as you're driving your hips up, the muscles of your back are also doing their job. All the muscles of your midsection, not just your back, but your spinal erectors, your abs, etc., they're doing their job of maintaining position. And this is where it comes into a little bit of an exception when we talk about cueing movements versus muscle groups. In general, cue movements. Drive the hips up in the squat. Push the floor away when you're starting the deadlift. However, one occasion where you might cue, or we sometimes will cue a muscle group, is when we're trying to prevent movement. So on the press, when you're reaching forward with the hips, but we don't want your knees to bend because then it's not a press, then it's a push press. We might cue quads, tight quads, or flex your quads. We might also cue lock the knees. That's more of a position than a muscle group. But in general, you're going to cue muscles only if you want to prevent movement. Think of getting ready for the squat or getting ready for the deadlift. What's one of the cues that you might use to help with your Valsalva maneuver, right? You're going to take a big breath. You're going to clamp down on that breath with tightly contracted abs. And sometimes the cue is simply tight abs, right? That's cueing a muscle group because you're trying to prevent movement, because you're trying to make sure that that wiggly column of bone that is your spine is now immovable, is a non-deformable column through which you can transfer force. So in general, cue movements, you'll get the muscles by default. Hope this helps you get stronger and live better.